General Eisenhower informs me that the forces of Germany have surrendered to the United Nations. Much remains to be done. The victory won in the West must now be won in the East.
Japan had its choice, complete surrender or complete ruin.
Arrangements are now being made for the formal signing of the surrender terms at the earliest possible moment.
Vast throngs of grateful, happy people celebrate the end of fighting, the dawn of peace.
Just because there was VE Day, just because there was VJ Day, doesn't mean that soldiers didn't die. There's disease, there's accidents, there's all sorts of reasons why people are killed. And I think that that's what people sometimes don't remember. My father was driving to Belgium to go to the company headquarters to try and make arrangements for himself and for the other people in his unit who had the same number of points that he had to be repatriated back to the States so that he could be with his family before the end of the year. That was his goal. He was in a Jeep on his way from Le Havre, France to Brussels. And somewhere in Belgium, either in Liège or Bruges, I'm not sure which, the Jeep was in a head-on collision with a British truck. And he was thrown from the Jeep and suffered massive cerebral hemorrhaging and died instantly.
When the doorbell rang, and I said, I said, who is it? And he said, Western Union. So I thought it was a telegram telling me that your father was on his way home. And when I went downstairs, I said, it's good news, isn't it? He said, no, it isn't. And when I opened the letter, I started screaming. It was such a shock. It was a terrible tragedy. The war was over in Europe, and it was just a horrible accident, I guess, that was destined to be, unfortunately. And it's really a shame, because he was such a decent person. Wonderful, kind, generous, handsome. I used to say, what did I do in my lifetime to have deserved somebody as wonderful as he?
My father is fixed in time. He's always the age of the photographs that I have of him. He missed having a wife, he missed having a career, he missed having a child, he missed having grandchildren. He missed all of that. And we all know that life isn't fair, but that's not fair. As a kid, it probably would have been better for me if he were buried here. It would have made it more real. It would have made it something I could have dealt with. Now, as an adult, I am very grateful that he is buried at the military cemetery in the Netherlands. I can't imagine a more appropriate setting for him to be in. It's a beautiful cemetery, extraordinarily well maintained. And he's been adopted by a Dutch family. So he now has more than just one family who cares about him. This past December, I had my 70th birthday. And I realized, here I am. I'm more than twice as old as my father ever was. I don't know how many more trips I'm going to be making to the Netherlands or overseas. So I wrote a letter to Max Cleland, the secretary of the ABMC, and explaining who I am. and saying that I would, if possible, like to participate in some way in this ceremony on behalf of the families of the people who are buried there, to thank the Dutch people and let them know that what they do is truly appreciated. And so that's why we're going. Recently, I obtained the name of the family who had adopted my father's grave, and I sent them a letter explaining who I was and thanking them for doing this, and telling them a little bit about myself and about my family, and asking if they wanted to get in touch. And right after the new year, I received an email from them saying how grateful they were that I had contacted them, and talking about why they decided to adopt a grave.
We lost 2 children. In '98 we lost our son Tom, and in 2003 we lost our son Sam, both of brain tumor. We have seen our boys for 4 years and for 2 years only, but we still have met them and known them for those years. But Arthur has never seen his father. And we thought that was so sad. And we thought we can do something for those the soldiers who fought for us. That's the reason that we now have our freedom.
They've adopted the graves of 5 of the soldiers who were buried there, including my father's. It seemed like a remarkable family. I can try to keep their kids in my memories, even though I never knew them, just as they have kept my father in their thoughts, even though they never knew him. I want them to know that.
I want to thank the Schotten family that they found us. It's super that we have friends now, and we can see the face from the soldier who buried here and that we take care of every year, so that's very special.
What I've thought about in the past couple of days is something I'd never really focused on before. I never knew my father. I never had a relationship with him. I never had someone who I could either hate or love. He was always a story to me. And here I am. I'm 70 years old. I've lived 40 more years than my father ever lived. And the single biggest thought that I have in preparing this speech is that I hope he would be proud of me.
Oh, the power these dead have over those they left behind. But for my family and the families of the other soldiers buried and remembered here, there was a comfort because we learned about the incredible efforts made by the people of the Netherlands to adopt these graves. What would cause a nation recovering from losses and trauma of their own to adopt the sons and daughters of another nation? And what would keep that commitment alive for all of these years when the memory of that war has begun to fade? It speaks to the character of the people of the Netherlands that every single grave in this cemetery and virtually every single name on that wall has been adopted. It is a unique occurrence in the history of civilization, and it is deserving of recognition and of thanks. By making these dead part of your family, you have become part of our family. You have created a bond between us that will never be broken. So from this day forward, from now until the end of time, hartelijk bedankt, a heartfelt thank you. May the kindness and compassion you have shown them and us be returned to you many times over. We thank you, we salute you, we are forever grateful. Bedankt.
We don't forget what's happened here, and we don't forget what's happened with the soldiers who died for our freedom.
It's, I think, a remarkable expression of their appreciation for what was done for their country, But more than that, it's a sign of their national character, of who they are as people.
I think now there is a invisible line between Valkenburg, where I live, and Annapolis, where the Schottens live.
And it's comforting to know that there are people overseas who care about the person you lost.
Sometimes you meet friends and they leave a footprint and you never forget them anymore.
Certainly my family feels that way.